And now it is time to listen to the peaceful, calming sounds of hammering in grommets. It is now time for part 2 of this 18th century inspired outfit. We are going to be focusing on the placemat stays corset top. If you would like to see how I made the chemise a la reine inspired top and skirt that I have made to go with these stays, go and watch my previous video. I'll put it up above. These are a great start. They are self-lined, and I think there's some kind of interfacing in here. They're very strong. So I really don't have to do much infrastructure work with this piece, which I'm super excited about. For the pattern, I do have an 18th century stays pattern. However, I think I'm going to use the simplest corset pattern that I have so that I can change it however I want it to. That one is an underbust corset, so I think I'm going to have to measure my bust and my underbust and kind of figure out the difference there. I think that's all that I have to say. So let's go ahead and get started. So first up was measuring the difference between my bust and my underbust. The pattern I'm using is either an underbust corset or a corset that has separate bust cups, neither of which works for me in this specific scenario. I'd done a mock-up of this pattern a while back to make it fit me better, so I used that as my pattern pieces. One day I will make these into actual pattern pieces, I swear. And then it was time to cut out the pieces. I started by trying to pick which sides would make the best center front pieces. Since this pattern fits me well, I wanted to make sure there was a bit of a gap at center front to show the dress underneath. So I waited a bit to cut out the back pieces so I'd know how much to decrease them by. On each side, I went ahead and took up those seams all the way to the top so that it wouldn't be an underbust corset anymore. I then started cutting the 3 front pieces. Then I quickly discovered that I needed to cut out the batting, as that would make my seams way too bulky. I started by just cutting out the bottom edge, but as I'll explain more in a second, I also cut out some from the sides as well. I took out of every seam here, these side seams that I'm going to be sewing, as well as this bottom edge that I'm going to be top stitching. And that is just to help me so that these seams will not feel like 10 layers of fabric are going through them. After ironing the raw edges inside, I top stitched the bottom seams of each piece. It was then time to start putting the front pieces together. Once I measured how much of the back needed to come out, I decided to just take the side back piece out completely, leaving the side pieces and the center back piece to be cut out. Wow, with each passing hour, my bangs just get 10 million times worse. Sorry if the sound is bad. I just want to say this real quick. There's one last decision I have to make with taking these placemats apart, and that is, this is how much room I have left for my straps. So little. So either what I could do is cut this in half and have it just be like a tiny shoulder piece right here that is connected at the front and the back. But what I'm actually thinking of doing is taking this apart and just taking the 2-sided fabric, and one side will connect to the back. And then I'll have a long enough section to where it can connect with a little bit of ribbon at the front. That's what I think I'm gonna do. I wish I had this kind of stability, but I don't think I'll be able to if I want the straps to look the way I want them to. So I did have to make a little bit of a hard decision here, but I think I kind of figured it out. The body is done. I don't think I'm going to finish the seams on this one. Shh, that's a secret between you and me. Don't tell anybody. I just don't feel like it this time. But what I am going to do is I'm going to do some research of 18th century boning. Not like real research, I'm just gonna look at photos to kind of copy the pattern that they used as far as like how far apart they are, what it looks like, the diagonal angle-ish. I just wanna look at the pretty pictures. A little bit of research, then it's on to the boning. So with the boning, I started with strengthening the center front since I'm lacing at center front. There won't be a busk, so I put 2 lines of boning about 2 inches in and 1 more right at the edge just to make sure I made it as strong as I possibly could. I then started marking for my diagonal bones. These are the examples I'd seen, but I also wanted to do a bit of experimenting and have fun with it as well. Why did I make this mark on the outside of my stays, you might ask? Well, that answer is really complicated and convoluted. I'm stupid sometimes. It was easy enough to wipe off and that I marked it on the inside. And then I made a little V shape at center back just because I thought it would look cute. Like I've said, I'm not necessarily going for historical accuracy here. And then it was time for the grommets. I hadn't added grommets in a very long time, and the last time I did, I was using one of these babies. But that wasn't mine, so now I had to test out the new grommet kit I bought. The hammer that was included with the kit just wasn't doing it, so big hammer it is. And now it is time to listen to the peaceful, calming sounds of hammering in grommets. The final step was to make the straps. I decided to keep them as long as possible and take each side of that leftover scrap in order to make 2 straps. I then put interfacing on each piece and cut out the rounded shape. I then added a white lining to the inside to make it more comfortable to wear and make it look a bit more finished. After placing them on the stays, I added grommets to those straps, laced everything up with some leftover velvet ribbon that I had lying around, and this project is all done. Let me show you the final result. Okay, wow, I really match this room now. And that's the stays and the entire finished outfit. I will say, this is so comfortable. Like I have a full range of movement. I know that these little sideways things are way too angled to be any kind of historically accurate for any time period, but I kind of wanted to experiment with how diagonal I could go, and I actually really like it. It's still really comfy, it still works. A weird plus to these stays is I feel weirdly invincible in them. Like someone could like punch me in the gut and I wouldn't feel it. Like I feel so strong right now. I'm really happy with this entire project. I think it looks really cool. I am sweating. I thought I'd be safe. I was like, oh, it's the nicest day of the week. No, it's summer now. Nothing is nice. Sorry to any of my local thrift stores. I'm not gonna try to buy them all, but I am gonna buy quite a few. Apologies, I'm obsessed. I'm going to make a million different versions of these, I know it. That's gonna be it for me this week. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, all that good stuff so you can see more from me, and see you next time. Bye.